how to do it, so I apologize.
Right. I think Jim sometimes sends one out afterwards also. Can you see this okay?
Yes.
All right, great. I'm going to go into presentation mode here, slideshow. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dale Shadbejian. Today we're going to talk about social media strategy. I've been with SCORE about 7 years. I'm a subject matter expert, which means I volunteer my time to work with SCORE mentors when they have someone who has a website, social media, kind of marketing, digital marketing type question. Just for reference, I'm a Fitchburg State grad, graduate in information systems. I've been building websites since 1999. I've been actively and professionally working in social media since the, I don't know, early 2000s. The real value today that I can provide to you is I'm here for questions and any follow-up help you might need. There's a ton of information to go through. You can get a copy of the presentation. You just sit back and relax and try and follow along. If you have a question, put it in the Q&A, or we can follow up afterwards. So we're going to jump right into it. So I apologize. I've got this throat thing going on this morning. Today we're going to talk about social media strategy, right? So there's a lot of different networks, there's places to be, there's times to be there, there's different people to connect with. We're going to kind of touch on all of that, and then we'll try and dig down a little bit more granular towards the end. But really, your strategy, if you don't have a strategy, you don't have a plan, you can't measure yourself. There's no way to know if you're succeeding or not. You sort of floating out there in space, and I'm sure all of us, including myself, have felt like that at some point in time in our business or in our marketing journey. So strategy is a plan of action or a policy, and we're going to talk about both, designed to achieve a major overall goal or an aim, right? So we're going to talk about some real basic concepts. We're going to talk about setting goals and sort of where we can position ourselves in the social media place. We're going to talk about optimal content, some tools. We'll touch on like Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups. And then of course, we'll try and leave some time for Q&A. If we run out of time, you can email them afterwards or we can set up a time. I always disclaim that, I'm going to give you some stats and talk about studies and research. They're not the gospel. People like me or big companies, they do studies and they try and figure out the right way to do things. They evolve over time. They're guidelines, right? You're going to have to think about what in this presentation or what information I provide to you applies to you. Some of it may not apply, right? Your customer, or you may have some type of mentor or spouse, partner, someone you bounce ideas off of. They're going to be your best analytic. So just a quick reminder, we all have a job in marketing, right? We start out, no one knows about us. People start hearing about us, and we kind of move up this triangle. We start to be viewed as an expert at some point. We get good at what we're doing. And then finally, the pinnacle of where we want to be in our marketing journey as we climb up this giant hill is we want to be top of mind, aware with people as an expert, as someone who can solve their problems. Behavior, we need to think about how people buy things, right? We spend our money. Usually it's an emotional decision when we make a purchase, right? I say usual. We want something or we need something. So I made this wheel here. It starts with sort of a want or a need, right? We've got, I have two really distinct scenarios I give here. One is your hot water heater is broken and your basement's flooding with water, right? There's just water everywhere. You need a new hot water heater. Like there's no question about it. Social media might not be your best avenue, right? But let's say summer's coming, and I always use this example. I saw an ad one year for these really cool flip-flops that I love. They were a brand that I had as a kid. I saw a post on it for social media that my friend had these flip-flops, and I had to have them, right? That is a want. Now, depending on how strong the want or the need is, You might do some research, you might visit a website. Just keep in mind that 80% of consumers are going to do some type of research before they make a purchase, right? They're probably going to go to your website, they might do some searches. So in your social media journey, you want to make sure that as you're searching for your brand or your company, people are finding really consistent and bulletproof information about you, right? Good reviews, consistent information, because you really, as you're posting on social media, right, your strategy is that whenever you're online, everything is consistent. Really big part of social media that I see, and you may have seen them from time to time, is this is social media and not selling media. Um, we want to, in our social media journey and in our strategy, want to create and nurture a place that people want to be part of and feel appreciated and feel welcome. We want to promote ideas and help other people. What we want to avoid is constant self-promoting, constant selling, ignoring comments, ignoring what other people are doing. So first thing I want you to think about is before we even get going is what is your voice, right? So I have a very distinct voice. I own two businesses and I do marketing for other people. Each business I'd say has a slightly different voice. And when I say voice, I mean when you're reading a post or seeing imagery, a message is conveyed, right? We're communicating through different means, whether it's a video, an image, or text in social media. Are you confident? Are you humble? Are you confidently humble? I typically take the confidently humble route. So, and depending on the network, it could be different. So I notice, for example, on Instagram, people are a little bit more bolder in their voice, whereas on Facebook, which can be a little bit more critical, it's a little bit more on the humble side. So the best way I can say that is I've got this product or the service is going to blow your socks off, right? This is the best thing you've ever seen. And that's okay. And I see brands do that and they're successful with it. For me, that's not how I roll. I don't like, it's just not, I just don't think that way. I don't want to be perceived that way. I'm more of a, hey, I've got this really cool new thing that our team's been working really hard on. We're so excited to introduce it. We think you're going to love it. That's a lot different versus the first scenario, right? So think about your voice and think about even if you're a one person company, is it a we have something for you, or is it an I am introducing this new thing. This is going to be really important in your content journey, like what we're actually posting. So that's something I'm going to invite you to think about. The next thing is, right, to have a strategy, right? Eventually, we want to get information into the hands of people who want to buy things from us, make a donation, support us in some way, right? So we need to think about where does our audience congregate? And there's so many networks. We've got Facebook and Instagram, which are the top two for probably most of us. TikTok is at the bottom. If you haven't seen TikTok, that's mostly video. They do allow some imagery now. Late teens to adults. I see people of all ages are on TikTok now. It's no longer a sort of a kid or teenage app. It's getting really popular. Um, Threads is a new one that has come out. It's sort of like a Twitter. I'm not a huge fan of it. Just to me, the content I've seen so far is very negative, very critical, just not a place for me. LinkedIn, of course, everyone knows that's a more of a business audience. Pinterest, I've noticed Pinterest is great for some brands. I think for some brands, it's great for views and traction and also for SEO, which is another, getting found in Google. But I noticed for actually driving sales, that's a harder network. And then, of course, we've got Snapchat, which is definitely a younger person's app. I have a couple brands on Snapchat. And then Twitter, which is now called X. Same thing, a lot of entertainers, sports, politics, marketers are on Twitter. So think about, do your research, figure out who is your target demographic and what networks may match that demographic. And a really quick tip here is just don't think about the person that writes the check to you, right? Or who you interact with. Do they have someone in the office doing research or out there on the internet that's influencing their decision? Maybe it's a younger person, maybe it's an older person. think about where all the people who have may be in the decision-making process for your company, where are they hanging out? All right, I don't have any questions so far, so I'll keep going. Once we figured out kind of like our voice, what we're going to be taught, how we present ourselves, the networks that we want to be on, we really want to talk about what are our revenue streams, or what are the areas that we want to bring focus to, right? So take the community part of it. This is the part where we would be talking about ourselves. So right now, I am my primary focus is digital marketing strategist for Cape and Plymouth Media, and for that particular company, we use social media for a source of new people to learn about what we do, obviously, and have interest in what we're doing. Well, what is it exactly that we're doing? Well, we've got a monthly digital magazine where we talk about business news. We've got a weekly newsletter that we sell ads on. And of course, we have a website that we have ads on. We have events that we do yearly, but that's not the sole focus of our social media. We're trying to get people into the fold of business news and what's happening in our community. And then we talk about, so we're talking about everyone else first, right? And then we're talking about, hey, what events do we have coming up? We also offer marketing services. What are the services that we offer? So for us, it's a real kind of soft sell, and then we lead into how is it that we make money to survive? So what I would encourage you to do is, once you figure out like what are your actual goals, put them down in a spreadsheet. And I actually made a spreadsheet here for you. I have it queued up.
Hey, Dale, we did get a question.
Sure.
Can you give an example outside of social media being the revenue stream?
Okay, so just to clarify, I'm going to use social media, right, to get more followers on social media, but to also drive interest in our revenue streams, which are the magazine, the newsletter, and the website. Some people will actually monetize content on social media, but that's a whole different game, and that's not what we're doing. So we're going to use social media to be part of a community, to build a community, to help people. And then we'll be talking about, hey, by the way, we have a website that we sell ads on, et cetera, et cetera. I hope that helps.
Got another question.
Sure.
What's the current thinking on TikTok use in the view of the user privacy data and foreign ownership issues? Is it worth trying to grow presence there when some government entities have banned TikTok use in some cases due to security concerns?
Yep. So I'm not going to focus a ton on that because for obvious reasons, but TikTok is not, my personal opinion is this is a game that the American social media companies are playing. They have done far worse than TikTok has done, including selling our very personal data. If you look up what Meta's done, Google does it. You can actually go to these platforms and see what they know about you, and you'll be blown away. Instagram supposedly watches your face as you're on their profile. Anytime you engage in any of these platforms, you're basically saying, I'm giving you permission to pay attention to what I'm doing, where I'm going, et cetera, et cetera. I don't subscribe to TikTok as an evil entity wanting to take over the world. I think Meta's already doing that for us, but you never know, right? So I would say if you have a concern on a platform like TikTok, stay away from it. There are plenty of other places you can be besides TikTok. However, I don't see them actually being banned. I think when it comes down to it, they'll release enough information that will say it's safe. Am I positive? No, that's just my personal opinion after doing this for a while.
We got a few more questions, but I'm going to push them to the end.
Yeah, let's push them to the end. That'd be great. I'm happy to answer any questions after the fact too. So what I'd like you to do is, or what I'm recommending you do, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll try and make it a little bigger. I like to have a goal, right? So how many of you have like, you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm going to do a post today, right? Or, geez, I have to do a post this week. What am I going to talk about? it's really hard. That's a hard way to work. So what I would recommend you do at a very basic level, is think about what are your goals on social media. So this is an example for me. I want people to sign up for my newsletter. I want them to be more interested in what we're doing on social media. So I'm going to post something related to that. I want to get people excited about other businesses in my community, and I want them to, at the end, I really want them to be interested in our services and how we earn revenue. So let's start with the newsletter, right? So that's a goal I have, right? I want people to sign up for my newsletter. In the next column, I'd like you to think about, like, who's the right fit for my newsletter? I don't want every single person signing up for my newsletter. Well, maybe I do, but I actually want people who are going to read it and take an interest in it and participate in what we're doing. And in that case, it's business professionals. We're the South Coast, so we really hyper focus on Cape and Plymouth. We spill up to Boston, we spill down to New Bedford, but we're really hyper focused Cape and Plymouth, South Shore. These are business professionals who are curious about who's getting promoted, what kind of land redevelopment is happening, are there new businesses opening, did someone switch companies, right? Press releases. What's going on in the blue economy, which is, if you're not familiar with the blue economy, it's this whole economy centered around the ocean, right? What companies are growing. We want to attract people who want to be involved in the business community, right? Those are the people we want in our newsletter. Well, where do they congregate? Easily, I could say they're on LinkedIn, right? That's a business network. I find that LinkedIn is a little tough to cut through the chatter. There's a lot of spam there, and not everyone's really there. So for us, it's really Facebook and Instagram is where the majority of our people hang out. In column 4, column D, right? I know what I want them to do. I know who it is. I know where they are. Now the question is, when I'm creating content, what would actually make them want to sign up for my newsletter? Like, why does someone want to get this extra email in their inbox and read it? So I came up with the conclusion, this is really simple. People are nosy, right? They want to know what's going on. They want to know what's the economy of our area, what opportunities are happening, who's moving around, who got a promotion. Like they're just curious about what's happening in our business community. After that, I create what's called a template. So I use Canva to create all of my visual assets. I could do a whole class on Canva, and I think Score might, but for the sake of argument, I will actually make a Canva file with my graphic in it. And pretty much every time I post or someone posts, we'll keep a record of it in here, right? So I might create, so you'll notice the size of this is different. This is for a story, and we'll get into that later. I have different graphical assets here. We'll make a handful of them and we'll recycle them so that I'm not having to make something over and over and over. You could do seasons. You could do a snow, a spring, a summer, a fall, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. You can take kind of the same template and change like the background and change the font color, change something about it to make it look different. Or maybe your template is you give them a reason why they should sign up for the newsletter, and you've got 4 or 5 different reasons and you kind of rotate them. This really allows me to have like a consistent formula and to reach the people I want. And then, a frequency. So do I do this once a week? Do I do it once a month? And I would even encourage you, if you need it one step further, you could put this into a Google Calendar, repeating every Tuesday, and actually add this information in here. So when you wake up at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, the first 20 minutes of your day is dedicated to posting about asking people to sign up for your newsletter. I also put in my hashtags, right? So I like to just get my hashtags laid out so that I don't have to think about this every time. And then in my strategy, I talked about being social versus selling. I want to have, for every 4 posts, I'd like to have 3 just like, hey, here's a piece of information, or here's something that we're doing socially. Maybe it's a behind the scenes thing. Maybe it's you're visiting a client, maybe it's you're on a field trip somewhere, versus actually asking someone to buy something from you. So there's a really big distinction there. It's always kind of a give, ask. And I'll let that sink in for a second here while I take a sip. So this is really, this is like the apex right here of your strategy. This is something that I can offer as a subject matter expert. If you wanted help with a strategy, or we have other mentors too, this is a really good exercise to go through to know exactly when you're posting, what you're posting, where and to whom. All right, so we're gonna move along here. Oh, put this back down. If there's any relevant questions and you want me to stop, just let me know. Okay, so we've got our strategy, we know where we're going, we know who we want to be interested in what we're doing. We really need to, at that point, part of our strategy really needs to be thinking about the algorithm. We hear about this word a lot. Every platform has a goal of survival. And what that means is, as it's showing you content, it wants to show you content that will keep you on the platform. It doesn't want you to click off the platform. It doesn't want you to go away. So as you interact with posts, and this is one of the attendees brought up TikTok, for example, these platforms are watching very closely how we interact with content and other things. And even if we stop to look at something, or if we like it, or if we share it, or if it's a carousel and we're flipping through the photos, it's going to start to build an idea of who we are and the kind of content we want. It's going to show us more and more of that content. These platforms, they also make money by displaying ads, right? So the longer you're on the platform, the more revenue they get. And this is really big here, right? So and I'm going to show you some insights. We need to really focus on content that our target customer will like. And that's why it's not always fantastic to just get followers. Because if you have a follower and they're never reading or looking at your content, that's not going to help you. That may actually hurt you. A really big conspiracy theory that is actually true on some platforms is, when you're on your platform, so let's just say you're on Instagram with your business account. If you're following other people and you're scrolling through your feed and you're liking and commenting, and maybe once in a while you're adding their content to your story, which we'll talk about in a minute, that platform is going to draw sort of dotted line connections to people and to types of people, and will reward you by showing more of your content to other people. Sadly, if you think you're going to just log in twice a week and post something and disappear, in theory, the platform is not going to reward you as much by showing your content to other people. I hope that makes sense. All right, so we know where we're posting, we know when, we kind of have an idea of what we're doing. We've got some graphical assets. When it comes time to actual posting, and I would encourage you to create some original content, I would recommend you start to experiment, right? So every platform has its own little things that you can do with it, and I would encourage you to take a deep dive into the platforms you choose and learn more about them. I go to YouTube. YouTube is a great resource. When I'm in the gym at the treadmill, I put on YouTube. I learn about as much as I can in marketing and other things. So that's a great way to learn a little bit more. But learn the nuances of each network, right? Try going live, like Facebook and Instagram, and even TikTok. You can go live, post a video, post a picture, make a reel, try adding subtitles, right? So a lot of I use a product called kapwing.com for my subtitles, but even YouTube and a lot of other platforms now, they will do automatic subtitles for you. Try posting a story. Mess around with your graphics. Try different colored text. Try different fonts. Put no text in your picture. Put one word in your picture. Do a bunch of different things. And then I'm going to show you how we can look at our insights. After a month or two, you can go back and say, these 4 things worked and these 4 didn't. What was different about these things that performed or these things that didn't performed? Think about like what was going on in the news that day. Was it busy? Was it snowing? Were people online? Were they, was it a Monday and that's just a bad day for you to post, right? Think about what could be different. Maybe your audience likes videos. Maybe they like text. You don't know unless you try some different things and then go back and look at the data. And if you're nervous about, so my next pro tip is, if you're nervous about posting and what your content looks like, maybe you do a post and you've got those black lines on the side, or it's cut off, or it's blurry, and you're like, "Ugh, this is scary for me." I would recommend create a second Facebook page or create a second Instagram account that no one follows and post your content to that network first, right? See how it looks. Try it on a phone, try it on your computer. That will kind of take away a little bit of the anxiety if you may have when you're posting, to make sure that the actual assets you're posting look good. Definitely test on a computer and a phone. Your Facebook posts are going to look dramatically different between a phone and a desktop. And that's something you should be aware of. Something I noticed recently, which is a little different. This is a new thing. I'm noticing that on Facebook, majority of the accounts that we manage, our photos are doing better than videos. And when I say a video on Facebook, I mean a reel. The reels on Facebook right now they just don't seem to be performing well. Whereas on Instagram, it's the opposite. Reels consistently are getting more reach than photos. I'll give you a second to take that in. Okay, next question is, part of your strategy obviously has to be, when am I going to post, right? So there are tools out there that will tell you when most of your followers are online. I use Metricool. I actually just switched from another product. Metricool is a great product. It lets you do scheduling. It gives you more advanced insights into what you're doing. It does different networks. I use that only for some things. Facebook has this thing called a Meta Manager, or Meta for Business, or they seem to change the name periodically. That will also let you schedule things out. I typically like to just post live. I don't like to schedule things because I feel like, for me, the time I make a mistake is when I'm driving in the car and something's auto scheduled to go out. I just don't like that personally. But plenty of people use schedulers. So think about the day of the week, time of the day. What is your audience doing? So if you're home improvement focused, maybe a Friday afternoon is relevant, or a Saturday morning, people are at home and you want them to look around and see if their home needs an update. Maybe it's Monday morning, right? Think about when your audience might be in the mood to take action. You got to consider that, if you do get a tool, or you do find out, Facebook tells you that most of your audience is online at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. Don't post at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. Post a little bit earlier, right? Give that some time to get out there and marinate in the network. Also consider that a post has generally 2 to 3 days of life, right? So that should be a big consideration of when you're actually posting. Events are their own type of strategy. You want to do a save the date like as soon as possible, months and months and months and months advance. And then you really want to start heavily talking about the event to at least 2 to 3 weeks in advance. Plan out your posts, plan out several posts, and also consider setting up a Facebook event. And I mentioned this before, Facebook and Instagram will tell you when your fans are online, and I can show you that later if you're interested. how are we doing here for questions?
I
Anything?
got quite a few, but you want them now or you want to wait a little bit?
Is anything relevant to the content we're covering? Actually, I can look too.
Yeah. One's about the Canva. I think most of them can be handled towards the end.
Okay, yeah, looks like it. Okay, we will get to the questions. So community building, I mentioned you want to give, ask, right? We never want to come out of the gate just saying, hey, I can help you. Hey, I can help you. Hey, it just kind of gets old after a while. It's like, you know, people turn to social media for different things. A lot of us, it's an escape or to know what's happening, not to be sold to constantly. So think about that, right? Community building is a term that we use when you're creating a community of people that share common ideas, and your page, your profile could be that place. So let's say you're an insurance company. There are Insurance is a boring subject. Does anyone ever wake up in the morning saying, I'm going to buy some insurance today? Okay, maybe life insurance, but no one wakes up saying, I can't wait to go out and buy insurance today. But if that insurance company is saying, hey, we're gonna get our first frost this year. Make sure your hoses are turned off, and if you have an outside shower, make sure that's tended to. And by the way, we're getting a windstorm. Check your gutters or check this or check that. Like if they're actually helping you or giving you safety tips, right? Teen safety tips are great for insurance companies. Here are 4 ways to keep your teen safe in a car. Think about how you can actually help people and build this thing rather than constantly selling to people. I'm also going to recommend that you follow other businesses. If I'm a bakery, right? Maybe I want to follow another company that makes cakes. Maybe I don't make cakes and someone else does, right? That's a great person that I can interact with. We kind of might have the same audience, but we're not competing. Maybe it's a coffee shop, right? Maybe it's I love this example of an entertainment business or a bar or a tavern, right? A pub. They've got people up late. You're interacting with them. They see your name. They're coming to your business in the morning, right? These are great ways that we can kind of get involved with people that have similar interests. Interact with the pages when you follow them. Comment on their posts, like their posts. Share it once in a while. Say, hey, I love this business. I think they're always out here trying to help people. So I would appreciate it if you support them, or if if you have a chance to ever support them, you should check them out. These are ways that you can get in front of people, you get your name in front of people, and without actually selling to them, you're actually providing value to them. I like to I recommend carving out a certain amount of day to check in with people and check in on your posts. This is a huge one, is monitor engagement. Every person's guilty of this, including me. I logged in this morning, I had 5 messages that span back a couple days ago. If someone makes a comment or sends you a message, give them the courtesy of replying as soon as possible. Imagine if someone wants to buy something from you and it takes you 3 days to reply to them. To me, that's not the kind of that's not the image I want to have. There are some great apps out there. There are apps, if you're on multiple networks, there are apps that can bring all the messages in one place. There are apps for your phone, like the business suite will give you notifications when people are commenting or sending you direct messages. You want to make sure you interact back with them as soon as possible. That's a no-brainer. We talked about ads earlier. I apologize. I'm going quick here because we got a lot of material to cover. We talked about ads earlier. Social media platforms make money by selling ads, right? It wants you to see ads. It wants you to place ads. If you do happen to be boosting posts or running ads, one of the options is, I want to run an ad to people in my local area, right? That means when you post that content, when that content is out there, people who don't already follow you are seeing that content. If they interact with your post, if they like it or if they comment, you can actually on Facebook, you can actually send an invite for them to like and follow your page. That's going to be really important for you. I see a lot of people spending money on ads, spending money boosting posts, and then they never invite the people to follow their page. When you do this, they will get all of your regular content moving forward. I'm going to take this one from Carol. Once you have your post ready to go, how do you send it to a wider audience? So you have different ways to do this. So Facebook has groups, which we'll talk about. LinkedIn has groups. When you create a group on Facebook or LinkedIn, it's hard to get people to join that group, but the advantage is when you're in a group, you're more likely to see the content. Now, I slowly see that changing. But for example, I have a bakery, right? We have a family bakery. We post our own content. And if you do your posting through the Facebook the Meta Manager, when you do your post, if your page follows other groups, it will actually suggest to you, hey, do you want to post this in these groups also? And I think you can pick 3. So for our bakery, we follow, so it's located in Dennisport. We follow like Friends of Dennis is a group. There's several thousand people. There's a restaurant foodies group that we belong to that we interact with. I post there once in a while, but I do more like I answer comments. You know, if people mention us, I'll reply or I try and promote other people as well. Those are great ways to expand your reach, right? If you're finding a hard time, a lot of the networks are pay to play, right? A metric I use is if you really want to reach 10% of your followers, if you have 1,000 followers and your posts are getting a reach of 100 or more, you're doing okay. You can get up to 20, 30%, which is rare. If you're under 10%, so meaning if you have 1,000 followers and less than 100 people are consistently seeing your posts, you're not doing something right. I would think about changing your content. Or a really quick way is you can do what's called a boost. You can boost on most of the platforms have money that you can pay. There'll be a button, boost this post, and then it's kind of out of scope for this morning. But once you go through that process, you can target people by geography, demographics, age, interests, anything. You could say, I want people 13 to 18 that like coffee, right? That's not a great example because we don't want to be giving coffees to 13-year-olds. But maybe you want people who are interested in food, or maybe it's high school students that are interested in sports, right? That, think about like that really tight demographic, and you can do that in your posts and reach those people a lot easier. So we have another question here. How much do ads usually cost? You really set your budget. So LinkedIn has a higher budget starting point than the other platforms, but Facebook, I think you can start for as little as $5. And I would recommend in my business, we have a thriving bakery and I still run posts. We're summer only. I spend probably $1,000 a month on boosting posts and running ads. It's just something I've always done. It's something I budget for in our yearly budget, and it's something I'll probably always do, to be honest with you. But start small, do a boost for $5 and see what happens. See how many people you can reach. And then maybe work your way up from there. We have another group question here. I'll answer. On LinkedIn, when you post to anyone, do you also post to groups you belong to? No, that's not true. On LinkedIn, you actually have to navigate into the group, I believe, and post within that group, right? And you can post personally and as a business. So for me, I have a ton of personal followers, connections, but my business has much less. I will kind of switch up who I post with. Typically, I'll do it personally because I don't know, 70,000 connections and my business has significantly less. So, okay, so Deborah has a question here. If following another bakery, how is it not competition? Your people will see their posts also, correct? So this depends, right? So if I'm a breakfast bakery and there's someone down the street that serves eggs and pancakes, they're probably a competitor. If there's a bakery that's maybe they just sell cakes and desserts and I just sell morning stuff, that's not competitive. Or maybe there's a bakery in California or New Jersey or somewhere else. Um, that that is not, I wouldn't consider that competition, but this is really your decision. Okay, so we have another one here. When doing ads, can we give our demographics for a particular community? Absolutely. When you run an ad, you can pick to the nth degree from age, um, gender, demographics. So you can say literally anything. There's so much you can do with it. I wouldn't be able to get into it now, but I can send you some more information on it if you want. Okay, so Thomas asked a good question. I haven't opened up my content to the public because I wanted to have enough posts for people to scroll through. What's the best way to now open my handle to the public to gain followers? So I guess that would depend on the network, Thomas. That's something if you want to send us an email afterwards and tell me the network, I can give you specifically how to do it. But I would say, when you're creating a new social media channel, you want to announce it in as many places as possible. Tell people, put it in your newsletter, put it on your website, and get the word out that way as well. All right, we're gonna keep going here for now, and then I think the rest I can come back to. So we've done some posting, we know our networks, we know our audience, we've tried a bunch of different things. Every post you do or in the platform, there'll be something called insights, right? And they all work differently. I'm giving you an example here from Facebook. Most of the platforms will tell you when your fans or your followers are online. I would encourage you to start with reach versus engagement. And the reason for that is if someone sees your content, you must have people see your content, but liking or commenting on your content is optional, right? And here's why. A lot of people just don't like posts. They keep scrolling and they don't like and they don't comment. They don't want their name out there. They don't want to be visible to the public. And they're not going to post. If you have a really fun community that promotes interaction, obviously you're going to get more engagement. But for most of us, comments and likes are going to be very hard to get. It's not going to be a thing that it's not a metric I would really hold yourself accountable to. Reach is really the important one. How many people am I getting this content in front of? On Facebook, you can watch other competitors' pages, you can see their top posts, you can kind of see what other people are doing. I would really encourage you to do that as well on Facebook. Instagram and the others don't do that as much. But I definitely follow my competitors. So getting back to the competitor question, I might follow a competitor but not like, comment on their stuff just because I want to see what they're doing. And yes, I am helping them by viewing their content, but I feel like I kind of want to know what's going on, sort of outweighs the possibility that their content may be shown more. So I think everyone knows what stories are at this point, but I feel like it's still people still don't use them as much. You can do a story on Facebook, Instagram. I'm not sure if LinkedIn has them. Snapchat has them now. Story is something that when you're on a network, like especially Facebook and Instagram, at the top, there's little circles of people's icons. You can tap on that and it'll show you their story. A story is just a piece of content that disappears after 24 hours. They're really meant to be more sort of off the cuff, more fun, point in time, behind the scenes kind of stuff. So let's just say I'm attending a trade show or some type of event. While I'm at the event, I might take a selfie with someone. I might take a picture of a speaker and say, at this event, tag the location, real light and fluffy. Whereas after the fact, I may take a picture of me with a speaker, or maybe my team with a speaker, or something interesting about the event, and then I would talk about the actual event itself. What did I learn from it? What was good about it? Am I going to go next year? Right? So really different pieces of content. And I would encourage you to try it and see. You're going to get significantly less views on your stories versus posts, most likely. But I would still encourage you to do it because you're going to have a different audience. There are people who watch more stories than view posts and vice versa. So you really should be doing both. Watch other people's stories, send them a message, right? And this is another benefit of stories. When someone sends a comment on a story, it goes personally and directly to you. It's not public. So a lot of people are more likely to comment on a story versus a post. And you can do the same. If you want to send someone like, love this, or something private about that piece of content that you like, you can do that in a story much easier, and the other only the page owner is going to see that. Okay, so this is a relevant question here from Andrea. Should you post the same stories? Should you post the same stories and posts on Facebook and Instagram? Is it better to change it up across platforms? That's a great question. I would say it depends. So I have clients that it's extremely difficult to make content. It's just, so let's say like you're a remodeler and you do really big projects and you've got 3 or 4 a year. It becomes cumbersome to find relevant content consistently every week, unless you're doing like phases of the project. So I would say the recommendation is you create different content per network. I don't always do that. I might change the formatting of it, and that's why Canva is nice. You can create a graphic and then change the size. However, if this is a lot for you, I would recommend go to Canva, and we had a question about Canva, so I'll show you this real quick. If I go to Canva and I create a design, right? And you can YouTube this. It was a question about Canva that I'll get to. I would watch YouTube tutorials, and I think Canva has a thing you can go through. I always start with an Instagram square. So if you post the Instagram square, that's going to work on Facebook or Instagram. It's not going to work as a story. So if you want to do a story, you can do the magic resize, and then you can come down to, so let's just say I create my content, right? This is my content. Now I'm going to come back to my magic resize, go to social media, and then I can pick story, right? And it's going to shows me how it looks, and you can see it looks different, right? At a minimum, you can do something like this, right? Now you've got 2 different posts that kind of go to each network. You can change the graphic, change the font. Obviously Instagram is going to be mobile only, so the fonts need to be a little bigger. Like this font right here, that's going to be really hard to see on a phone, right? You can change it up that way. If you don't have time, start with the square, do it on both. That would be my recommendation. Let me see what we've got left here. All right, we're close. We're really close to the end. Loomly is a great tool. I also use Metricool. If you've got a lot of networks you're on and you're having a hard time posting, this is a great product. I love it. You can set up a post across all your networks and then click a button, and you can change the graphic or change the text between each of the networks. It gives you a nice calendar. You can go back in time. You can repost things. You can start for free. I'm on like the $18 a month plan. It's just worth it for me. I just don't have the time. Like, I'm kind of a purist, but I don't have time to practice what I preach all of the time. Sometimes I need a tool to help me just get the job done. I've got a lot of things going on. I think you need to figure out what is your balance here, right? And how much you can actually achieve, and what is realistic for you on a really consistent basis. Consistency is going to be really key for you. Um, Another thing is, so like if you have someone on your team, another great part of having a tool is, let's say you have someone on your team creating the content, but you want to approve it. A lot of these platforms, especially Loomly, someone can create the content and then push a button and you'll get an email and it'll say, hey, Dale, can you please approve this post? I can go and I can either deny it or approve it. So you can have some sort of editorial or approval process in your post with using a tool as well. All right, this is my biggest one for the day here. Don't give up. There's a guy I follow. His name is Gary V. I'll warn you, he's got kind of a foul mouth, but he has a lot of great social media content. Something I learned really, really early on with Gary is most people do it for a month and give up. And I think, consistency and being in this for the long haul is a challenge, especially after you've been posting for a while. Coming up with ideas is going to be difficult. Don't give up. Try different things, look at other accounts, see what people are doing, switch it up, and just keep going, right? Don't worry that you only have 50 followers. Just keep going. It took this guy over 10 years to get a massive following. And he said it was nothing for 10 years. And then one day it just sort of popped for him. I'd say 10 years might be a long time for the rest of us to wait, but this is going to take you time. Don't give up. We already talked about groups. Parting thoughts, and then I'm gonna get into the questions where we made good on time here. If you're using Facebook and Instagram, I highly suggest you set up a business manager. Just Google set up Facebook Business Manager or go to YouTube. It'll show you how to do it. Don't worry about likes, comment, and sharing. Worry about reach. Worry about making sure your content is seen by people. How do I know if my plan isn't working? Well, you go a month and you don't have your reach. I would try switching it up, right? I think social media is a thing that we have to do in our society. People will tell you if they're seeing your posts, right? People will start to tell you. If you're feeling like this thing is not working, I would scale back your efforts on it slightly until you're comfortable to the point where you can ramp it up again. I would not give up. I would do a minimum of a post a week just to keep your name alive out there. And if someone comes to your page, they see that you're still in business. On your channels, carve out time, click everywhere, click on every button, every option, learn as much as you can about it. I know we've got a million things going on, but if you want to be successful, you need to understand what these platforms are offering and see if there's something you can gain from it. And then lastly, consider running ads or boosting posts, right? I can't cover that here, but that's something you can definitely learn more about. And it's something that you can easily get good at, or you can learn enough where you can hire someone to help you do it. All right, that's it. I'm gonna go and let's fire away any questions.
I got a couple that are similar for you, Dale. One is, are hashtags actually useful? I'm very new to social media. Please explain the impact of hashtags. Two different
Right,
questions.
so first I want to thank everyone for joining us. If you want to jump off, we're going to just answer questions now. You can have the presentation. We can send a link to the spreadsheet or contact us if you want more help. But I will answer the questions now. So hashtags, I would recommend you use hashtags, but they're not going to work for everyone. In some cases, they will help the platform understand what your content is. However, a lot of people will use hashtags as discovery. So let's just say so this past weekend, I went to visit family in Tampa, Florida. When I'm in Tampa, Florida, I'm on Instagram and I just did a search for Tampa, Florida, right? I got to see what other people were doing that day in Tampa, right? So whenever someone posted something, they could do hashtag Tampa or hashtag Riverwalk. I was on the Riverwalk. I could kind of see what other people were doing, like restaurants were posting and using the hashtag. There were concerts that day. There were things going on. I used that to kind of get a lay of the land and see what was going on. Some people use it in like home improvement. So maybe I want a white modern kitchen. I could do hashtag white modern kitchen. If I want to do my kitchen over, there are people who will go out there and they will search that hashtag, and that you get to see all these pictures of that type of a thing. This is not, hashtags are not going to be a game changer for you, but I definitely recommend you use them.
Um,
And I will,
we-
I'm going to put a copy of the spreadsheet in the chat so that you have it. And we can answer that one also.
okay.
Uh,
Other
we
one?
talked about Thomas. If you have any more questions on the hashtag, let me know. There's a question, is the story size, is it story or square size for IG? So it's both. If I'm doing a post, I'll start with the square. If I'm doing a story, I will use the story size. However, if you're posting from a phone, which is hard, for a lot of people, and I'm just doing Facebook and Instagram, I will do an Instagram post. I can connect Facebook, so I'll push that to Facebook. And then there's also an option where I can share that post to my story. That's the easiest way to do it. I would try that out, right? It will it's not as pretty as this story that I'm showing on my screen here. But if you're new to stories and you don't have time to create both aspects, right? I would try the share to story option. I do both. One of the other benefits of a story also is that there's more interactive features. So you could put in a link, you could do a poll. There are other things that you can do as well that you'll figure out as you're doing this. Lisa asked a question. She's not active on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn, but not on Facebook or Instagram. Difficulty finding time. I totally get that, Lisa. I would say the first step to having time is making time. I think one thing I learned in my business journey is I start my day with my most important tasks related to my business. Obviously, clients come first, but that first hour of the day, I focus on what I need to get done. If your social media doesn't fall in that, it's definitely worth hiring a social media if your business can benefit from it. So if you're selling widgets at $1 each, and a social media manager might be 3, 4, 5, 6+ $100 a month, you have to sell a lot of widgets to cover that. If you're a kitchen designer and you have big ticket items, or you're home builder or something like that, social media is definitely going to be worth your time. But you got to think about, this is a long-term thing. The more followers you have, the more people engaging, that's actually an asset to your business. If you want to sell your business someday, or you want to give it to someone else, you're creating a value in your business that only really you can put a dollar amount on. I would say if you want help in how to hire a social media manager, you reach out to SCORE, or if running numbers on could this be beneficial to you, that's definitely something that SCORE can help you answer in more depth. Thomas asks, is there an email where we can ask questions later? Yes, an email will come out after the event that will have all the information in it, as well as you can ask me a simple question over email. If you want to set something up, there'll be information on how you can do that.
Yeah, we're getting questions. I saw the link for the spreadsheet, but people aren't able to see it quite yet. Do they need permission or?
Let me see here. You may need to log in with a Google account, but let me try this. Sorry, folks, try it again. You may need to log in with your Google account, but try it again now.
Yep, it's up.
Okay, great. Another question. What about the size for the post for the link for LinkedIn? I always use a square post, but what I would recommend you do is, if you go, I love Canva. They give you a free version. whenever I start a piece of graphical content, I go to Canva and I create design, and then I look at what they're recommending, because they can change a little bit over time and I don't have the time to keep track of it. So I would come in here and create that image. It is a little bit different, but I found if you still use this Instagram square, it still will come out nice on LinkedIn. Another question, can you help me publish my website? I have set everything up. I need to publish it. Yeah, I mean, I could give you some advice on it depending on the platform. If you want to reach out after the webinar, I see if I can point you in the right direction. It's probably something really simple. And I think that's it.
Yep.
So I'm still not seeing the sheet.
Yeah, it's up. Click the link.
We can, I can also send you a copy too, and we can just attach it to an email if you want. Susan.
Yeah, I'm just reading them. It says still no link on the chat
Yeah.
line.
Here, I'll recopy the link and put it in the chat below because it is up. I just tried it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's a ton, we went through a ton of information today. You can use my presentation, use all the information, reach out if you have questions, invite me to follow you, say hello online, do all the things I mentioned. Tell me what worked, tell me what didn't work. You know, I love marketing. I'll help as much as I can, including any volunteer work through SCORE. And I appreciate you joining today and giving us your time.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you, Dale.
All right, bye everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Hey,
Hey, Susan. Thanks. I'll see you.
okay, bye-bye. I'm gonna end it.
Yeah, me too.